Republican Rand Paul. What can we say about him? I can say a lot of negative things about Rand Paul. But one of the things that seems to hold true about Senator Rand Paul, a Republican, and Congressman Thomas Massie, a Republican, is that they are more principled than your average Republican. Many of their principles I disagree with, to be clear, but they are more principled than many Republicans, and they don't seem willing to say whatever to stay in Trump's good graces. Here is Rand Paul on Fox Business just hours ago saying, when you look at the video of Alex Preddy, you are not going to believe the Trump administration's version of events. This is responsible for a Republican to say.
It's President Trump seeming to defend Kristi Noem yesterday. Your thoughts?
I think one of the best things President Trump has done, and really people from across the aisle support, is removing violent people from our cities. So I think that's been a good thing largely, but it can't be done with no rules. And so when people watch that video and the government tells them, well, he was assaulting the police officers, nobody with any objectivity watches that video and believes that's what's happening. As the man retreats, with each altercation, he retreats, and then the woman is thrown violently to the ground. He's thrown to the ground. No American believes that he was assaulting the officers. In fact, the opposite appears to be true. So we have to get some rules of the game, and we can't have the government justifying this type of behavior because the vast majority of Americans think this was unfair, what happened. The intimation, or actually the explicit call to say you don't have a Second Amendment right to carry arms in a protest really flies in the face of most of our Second Amendment community. I can tell you I've been to dozens and dozens of rallies and or protests where people are visibly armed or have concealed carry. So the people who are saying this, we need to get this straight so we can have some kind of awareness if people go to a protest that they know what the rules of the game are.
And you know what? We have the rules of the game. It's the Constitution and Minnesota law. We've looked at it. Alex Preddy was within his rights. I'm not a gun guy. I don't like more guns in more places. But if we care about the law, we've got to go by what the law is. And Rand Paul is completely correct. Rand Paul, a Republican, saying we need an investigation, but can we trust an investigation done by the very people who should be getting investigated, done by the very people who said Alex Preddy is an assassin and is a domestic terrorist? On this issue, Rand Paul is right.
With this, and we need to know going forward that there will be some rules. There needs to be an independent investigation, for goodness sakes. There has to be an investigation. If this happened on a police force, the officers, whether or not they committed anything wrong, would immediately be put on administrative leave, and there would be an investigation. But I don't know who trusts an investigation to be done by DHS when they're the ones calling this person an assassin, a would-be assassin, a domestic terrorist, saying he was assaulted the police. How can they be in charge of an independent investigation?
And he's, of course, correct. We've investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing is bullshit. And Rand Paul knows it. Finally, even on the issue of ICE, he says, listen, I don't want to totally defund ICE, but I'm not going to give them more money the way they're operating.
I acknowledge there need to be some money, but we've thrown so much money at this problem that, there are just piles of it sitting around that I think people ought to think this through before. It's not all or none. I don't want to defund ICE, but I'm not sure I want to give them billions and billions more without any kind of signs of there are going to be some rules of the game and there will be an independent investigation.
Well,
Listen, I disagree with Rand Paul about a lot. He's right about this. The video directly listen, he makes three main points. Number one, the video directly undercuts the storyline that has been told that Alex Preddy was a threat to officers, planned to kill officers, etc. You watch the video, you know that's not true. Number two, Alex Preddy was not committing any crimes by being there armed, nor is being there armed justification for what happened to Alex Preddy. He was operating within the bounds of the law. And number three, hell yes, we need an investigation. But if they investigate themselves after saying Alex Preddy was an assassin and a domestic terrorist, that is not the sort of investigation that is going to feel good that it was actually done objectively. He's right on those three main points. And broken clocks are sometimes right. And Rand Paul is certainly one of those clocks that sometimes does get it right. We will talk about calls for a massive nationwide shutdown against ICE on January 30th on today's bonus show. We will talk about the latest move by Barry Weiss at CBS to bring in some commentators. I'll tell you who they are. And we will talk about what's going on TikTok now with Epstein mentions and anti-Trump content. It is wild what is going on TikTok. All of those stories and more on today's bonus show. Sign up at joinpakman.com. Get instant access. And remember, all of the clips on my show are parts of my daily podcast. You can get the podcast on any podcast platform you like, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure to rate the podcast on Spotify and Apple, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple. It's free. Everything I've mentioned is free, and it really helps us. The right is pushing to take over the podcast charts. We've got to stop them from doing it. I'll see you on the bonus show. I'll see you here tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Check out another one of our videos and make sure to subscribe so YouTube keeps our content in your feed. And if you prefer audio, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple.